good. Merry Christmas, everybody. It's a Christmas miracle in the fact that I actually have proof that I have two friends. So here we go. We got Tonicmole over here of Saving the World, and we got some wacko over here who did Parker Girls and wonderful comics like Motor Girl and Serial and of course my favorite. Why is my name my
Strangers
in Paradise? I was about to say Saving in Paradise. I got myself
Stephen in Paradise. I like Stephen in Paradise.
Stephen in Paradise. Very more over here. Thank you guys, and thank you in the chat, man. The chat is like already on fire. I just hit the button. So I just want to acknowledge some of the people. We got Nick Axe, who's the artist over on Crom the Destroyer, or at least the covers. And I just hired him to do some logos. Flying Fox Pro.
What's that?
Flying Prox. I got a page of Peter the Problematic Person. Okay. And Nick, they're having a conversation. Anybody else in the chat? Oh, we got this jerk over here. We got Marcus. Marcus, I just sent you a script today. Marcus, we're trying out, see if we can work together because I'm difficult. And thank you guys. Thank you guys for showing. Oh, Old Dirty Fatty just showed up. Old Dirty Fatty. That sounds like me in another universe. That's a multiverse version of me. So first off, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, whatever it is you guys celebrate. I don't know.
In my neighborhood, every year there's a blow-up dragon.
Really?
Christmas dragon.
A Christmas dragon.
Yeah, I don't know where that's from, but I love the Christmas dragon.
I went to Iceland a couple of years ago. My wife surprised me on my 50th birthday with a trip to Iceland. And, it's dark over there. It at the time in December in Iceland, there's only like daylight from 10 a.m. I think to 3 p.m. So it's mostly dark. So they really go out for Christmas. They cover everything in lights, and they have what's the Yule cat. So they make all these cats. It's like this evil cat, and it'll devour bad kids who didn't get clothes on Christmas, because if you're not good in Iceland, your parents don't buy you new clothes. And if the Yule cat sees you in dirty clothes on Christmas, it'll devour you. But it's so cool because they got these, and you could follow the lights. They got like little paths for the dumb tourists to follow and everything. It's really cool.
Very cool. I've seen pictures of their holiday lighting thingamajigs. It is very cool. It looks like a maze, like you're wandering through the North Pole in lights.
Yeah. My wife said it. She's absolutely right. It's like at night with all the lights on, it's like you're going through like a Hallmark Christmas village in Reykjavik.
A demented village. An evil Christmas village?
An evil Christmas village. The anti-Christmas.
An evil petting zoo?
I really liked it. And then they got like little towns that, outside of Reykjavik that are like Thomas Kincaid paintings. It's just a little snowy valley with one road and then like 6 or 7 houses. It's really nice. It's expensive to move there. Once you move there, you're trapped because where else are you going to go? But I like it. Oh, Marcus got the script. Cool. An evil script. How you doing, Grey Wolf? So, what you, Tonic? I've been talking and you've been quiet. What's up? You want to introduce yourself? What are you working on right now?
Well, lots of things, but like I'm funding Saving the World number 10 on Indiegogo, and it already funded on Kickstarter, and it's at print right now. The digitals are already out. So once the Indiegogo wraps, that will fulfill pretty quickly. And then Saving the World number 11. And then I always have like 5 ideas that are never going to materialize, but I'm really excited about them. And so I got all those in the frying pan too. But I think that's just trying to make money this winter. This winter sucked for comics.
You have Red Sirens too, isn't that in the works?
Yeah, I'm working on Red Sirens. That one's funded. I just got to finish it and ship it out. But I'm a little more. I'm focused on getting 10 wrapped, and I'll be drawing Red Sirens while I ship out Saving the World number 10. And
you're like Squid Girl. You got arms all over the place. You'll be shipping and drawing.
Speaking of, that was okay. So I send out the digitals, and then I was sending it to print, and I was organizing all my files, and I was like, what in the heck, page 27 or 26 or 27 is missing from this folder I had. So I re-exported it. I got it all ready. And because print, I really check over it more than once. And I realized my digitals went out missing a page. Nobody noticed. And I was like, that's kind of insulting. So I looked through my comic and I'm like, wait, you don't know, you don't notice the page is missing. I feel like it makes it was a short, and it was the first page of the short missing, but somehow the second page looked like an intro also. And I was like, oh man, but a lot of the jokes are a lot funnier if it has that very first page. So it was funny because one thing, it was a 32-page, well, no, it was probably a 24-page script that I wrote, and I didn't feel like it could carry a whole issue. So I was like, you know what? I have more pages extra in number 10 than I thought. Let's see if I can condense that thing to like 8 pages. Well, then I was doing the first primary story, and I was like, oh, it really needs as many pages as I can give it. And I was like, see how much I condensed that 24-page story down to, it ended up 5 or 6 pages.
This is just at the script stage, right? You're not talking about finished art that you're
deleting. Oh, no. I wouldn't do that. Writing is really easy. I don't give a crap about that. The drawing, that's hard. But no, I ended up condensing that, and I think it was actually much, much better. Like, it wasn't a super action-packed idea. It was more just the teenagers interacting. And so having stretching it out wasn't, once I condensed it, I was like, hey, that's actually pretty dang decent. But then I forgot a page. So evidently it could have been even shorter. But so I got to send the digitals back out again with the extra page.
Terry, you just scared me.
My power flash. Ignore me.
Tonicmole lives out in a black hole right now. He's got no power, and he's using a generator. Let's just hope that carbon monoxide. If he passes out, it's from carbon monoxide. Terry, you just finished up with your After Dark Kickstarter. How did that go? I think we were in the midst of it last time we spoke.
Yeah, that's right. You and I did speak right in the middle of that chaos. I finished it. It went well. We did better than we hoped, which is a lot of people have that, first time Kickstarter experience.
I'll have that too, because I'm setting my expectations way low for my comic. Comics will be great. I have way low expectation that people are going to buy it. So
we were asking for $32, and we got almost $40.
Oh.
So I got like a new pencil.
That means you can get a large size at McDonald's.
But yeah, it went good. I mean, we got the book printed, and
it's wonderful. I love it. It looks good. It's such. I'm a freak for well printed books.
Yeah.
I just got J.M. Matthias's little as bad books. I just love the way it's printed. The art looks so good. And if I could reach yours, it's all the way over there. I don't need anybody to see my fat belly.
On my bookshelf here, I have a little section of books that they're not necessarily my favorite read, but I love the book design and the way the book's made. And a lot of them are smaller 5x7s or something. I feel the same way. I'm kind of a book nerd. That's like geeking out over pens or watches or something. I love these special books that are beautiful.
It's funny that you said that, because I bought a pack of pencils. And they're just the perfect pencils. I don't even use them. I don't want to sharpen them. It's weird. I'm not even an artist, but I had to buy another pack of inferior pencils to use because I didn't want to use them.
I am a big. I wish I could get sponsored by them, but I have decided that Faber-Castell is. I like what they make. I like everything they make, and especially their pencil. And so I have actually done YouTube videos about the Faber-Castell pencil that I use. I've used one my whole career, And I tried all the other wooden ones, and then I tried to compare it to a Faber-Castell wooden pencil. I've decided all the other brands are just caca. That the only pencil
There's
I
your
like is
commercial. Every other pencil is just caca.
everything. Anything else is caca. It's like that famous Ford commercial. Everything else is caca.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like Faber-Castell pencils, wooden or mechanical, whatever. They just work for me. So there you go. Nick Axe says the same thing. Yeah, I got it.
Nick Axe's art is wonderful too. So you got.
We should get sponsored. I mean, why aren't we sponsored? We should be getting free pencils at least.
Yeah,
I should get sponsored by Bic. They're mechanical. I think I've only drawn like with
my girlfriend. That's what.
A Bic mechanical pencil. Hey, they ain't half bad.
No, I'm not going to use a Dixon Ticonderoga. No. The paper is better. It's smoother. The Bic pens, when we in high school, they were 29 cents. They're probably about $40 or $50 now each. These are the best. You could survive and do your whole career with just a pen like this. I mean, these
are those the pens that you stick them in your pocket? They just explode sooner or later.
No, that you're thinking of Parker pens. Okay. Bic pens.
These
are the ones that in National Lampoon, P.J. O'Rourke did an article in National Lampoon where it showed how this is actually a rocket ship, and these are all the parts of the rocket, and the booster, and everything like that. So yeah, Bic pens are mighty, and you can take all the stuff out and then you put spit wads in here.
Oh my!
And that's how what you shoot at the back of the neck is you want to. This is how you get sent out of class right here.
I had a fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Senecal, and we used to call her Mrs. Senile, and that wasn't even an exaggeration. And we would shoot at her. We were so mean. This is a Catholic school too. And we would shoot at her spit wads with that pen, and we had a whole. It developed into scores. If we missed her and hit the blackboard, it was negative. If we hit her, and it stuck, it was this many. And the goal was to get her on the glasses. And we're not kidding. She would walk around with spit wads. That's the only thing I remember from her class. That, and she made us get on our knees and pray when the Pope got shot.
Well, I never shot spit wads at a nun. So yeah, you're evil.
Well, she was Mrs. Seneca. I had some respect. The only thing I did to the nuns, I'd bring my altar boy outfit, cassock and surplice, for those of you who need to know their act. And I would tell the nuns, I have to go serve a funeral. And they never asked any questions because they couldn't even conceive that I would be lying to them. And then I'd go over to the candy store and play pinball for 2 hours.
Why do I know so many people who used to be altar boys?
Yeah.
I mean, how many altar boys were there?
Oh, there's your next comic, Altar Boys.
Altar Boys. It's like a super team.
Altar Boys on Ice.
Francine as a kid with all the troublemaking Altar Boys.
I think I'm going to go watch that down at the skating rink, Altar Boys on Ice. I think that's the pageant I want to see.
The other nun story that I like to tell is we were walking to the cafeteria, and Sister Ruth yelled at me because I just started singing. I'm in the hallway. It's near Christmas time, and I don't know. I just thought, so she yelled at me. We're in the hallway, and just because of that, you can't come to the assembly tomorrow. The next day was Friday in the afternoon. We were all going to go to the auditorium and watch It's a Wonderful Life, And she said, so you can't go tomorrow and you can't see It's a Wonderful Life. And I said to her, I'm never going to watch It's a Wonderful Life. And I'm 54 years old, and I've still have never watched that movie. I took a vow before a nun, so I can't break it.
You guys might be surprised to hear this. I went to public schools, and we had this teacher, and she was the music teacher, and vocal, the singing deal. And she was a little crazy, so like she would just get so angry, she'd just start screaming. Now, I wasn't much of a troublemaker, really. Like I was, I was never deliberately like I'd do things that I'd get in trouble for, but it was just things I wanted to do. It wasn't like I was going out of my way or something, like smoking and stuff. It's like, I didn't mean to make you angry, but evidently. But so we had this vocal teacher. She'd freak out when the kids would keep talking and stuff. And one day she freaks out and starts throwing chairs at the kids and stuff. She gets in a little bit of trouble. She comes back and they gave her a whistle. So it was like she went to anger management and they gave her this whistle that she'd just blow really hard when she wanted to like physically abuse children. And she had this
whistle and she kept breaking them.
Right. So the kid that really instigated her rage the most hid her whistle. So like her only crutch to not physically abuse kids, he went and hid it. Oh, it was pretty funny.
That's funny.
That's great. Oh man. So Terry, how did you torture your teachers? Something tells me you were a good kid.
I did it with pen and paper. I had my head down drawing on notebook paper all the time with the big pens. So everything I drew as a teenager was, had blue lines on it. It was notebook paper.
Right. Yeah.
But that's when I was drawing. We just eviscerated Batman and Robin and all that. And my version was that they were toads, and Batman was actually Bat-Toad. And I think I published some of those comics. And he was really obese and nothing worked. And we made sure to smash, blow up, destroy, set on fire Robin every single time, every night they went out. And he got a replacement Robin every day from the rotten rental agency.
South Park stole from you.
Yeah. So basically this was the, where all those movies came from, was our high school comic strips. So.
Did you save these?
I've saved. It's amazing. What I would do is, the goal was try to get. I had homeroom and classes with my friends, and one guy we really drew all the time. He and I both drew these and kind of developed all this together. And he was in my homeroom, and I would draw a whole page, and I would give it to him just to make him laugh and try to get him in trouble in homeroom. And I learned, it was like learning on the job, that if I did a little bit of a setup, instead of just drawing Bat-Toad blowing up, it was funnier if somebody like Mervyn the Mad Bomber from Mad Magazine, Don Martin, we had a Mervyn the Mad Bomber character, and it was funnier if he gave Bat-Toad the bomb and Bat-Toad opened it. And I'd learned that the more setup I did, the funnier it was.
Bigger payoff.
It was kind of like a cartooning class. I mean, so what I would do is, if you give them one panel, everybody's blowing up, you go, hey. But if you give them a setup, you watch them read it, and they're like, they start giggling, they giggle bigger and bigger, then they're like, oh. And that's, it was instant gratification. So that's where I learned to do all my pacing and setup.
I remember in one of your forwards, you said you originally wanted to do comic strips, right?
Yeah. I read all the comic books and all that, but my heroes were the strip people, because, and everything from the newspaper.
Comic heroes were strippers. Kind of.
Strippers. We like the strippers.
Similar.
Yeah. So, yeah.
If they would laugh at him, he didn't laugh at the strip.
Well, it's kind of, when I was a little kid, I liked superhero comics, like when I was 8, and I'd make I think I did one that was like Batman fighting Superman on lined paper or something. And then, but then pretty soon, by the time I could actually draw, it was just crazy, weird, freaky stuff. And I wasn't really interested in comedy so much. I think it's really hard to write, you either succeed or fail. Whereas action, you can do mediocre action, but you can't do mediocre comedy. You just,
Nothing worse than comics that are supposed to be funny that aren't funny.
Right. And
oh my God.
But my problem with action stuff though is I feel like it's like, then they did this, then they did that, then they did that, then they went over here, then they did that. Then, it's just like like that. So what do you take home? What do you think about the next day?
Right. And I think that you see the popularity of like manga and stuff, to where sequential art's arguably never been more popular than right now. It's
Yes.
just, and when people argue, it's actually the subject matter of superheroes in general are just not very popular. And ironically, I didn't ever draw. I did some. I was really influenced by like R. Crumb and underground comics by the time I was like 13 or so, and so that's all it was. And I tried to do some comedy stuff, but when my reference is R. Crumb in the late 90s, that humor just wasn't fit for the time, and I would always go to extremes. I think it was always.
He was like Lenny Bruce with a pen. I mean, and those guys were a product of their window, their time, and it was there was a very short window where they were really super relevant. And
right, and you couldn't publish those before or after. Like even today, they won a Supreme Court, or something in court with, I think it was Zap Comics #3. They didn't get very far in it. And I have that issue. And I read it and I was like, son of a gun. That is aggressive stuff to self-publish. And but that was what I was really interested in. And then and also The Crow and even some stuff like the Max and stuff like that of the 90s. There was lots of good stuff in the 90s. And so all that stuff really influenced me. So my comics ended up just being very dark and not psychedelic really, but like symbolism there was less of a plot and more just heaps of symbolism. Everybody.
What was the target of your rage? Like when you're working on your stories, I mean, what are you targeting?
Oh, yeah. For me, it was, I had a manic depressive, so I go real high, real low. When I was a kid, not as much now. But and it was really bad and so I just funneled craziness and funny thing, when I was in my 20s or so, you don't know it when you're going through it. Like, that's the thing about being crazy. You don't know, or you're not crazy. But
these people remind me quite often. So,
yeah.
Right. My best friend gave me this DVD for my birthday, and she was like, "This movie is about this musician guy, and it really reminded me of you." And I was like, and at the time, I was kind of trying to be a musician, which I'm terrible at. And I watched it, and it was I think it's called The Devil and Daniel Johnston, or The Demons and Daniel Johnston. Anyways, he's a Texan alternative musician who was very, 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 because people say manic depression, they don't realize that it can be very delusional. It looks like schizophrenia sometimes. And so I was like, what the hell? And I actually told her, I said, that guy's crazy. Well, she grew up with me from 16 and up, right? And so, she's like, oh, well, it's kind of because as a musician, it was a half broken guitar and whatever I could find, I scrapped everything together. And I was like, oh, I kind of get that. Anyways, then a psychiatrist said,
he does the song Walking the Cow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Possible. And so long story short, I'm sent to a psychiatrist eventually. He's like, no, exactly. And so I was like, oh, she's dead on. So but that's where all those comics came from. And so it's all very, very bizarre and twisted and weird, but not entirely enjoyable to read because it don't make no sense maybe to anybody else but me. And so by the time I was 30, I was done with, depressing, creepy things. I was just like, I'm done expressing all that crap. And so I was like, you know what? I remember when I was 8 years old and I thought superheroes were awesome and Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. And so I decided I'm going to sit down and make just a superhero comic. And so I did the first issue of Saving the World when I was 30 or so. And, but I had nowhere to put it. So I just put it into a plastic little container. And then when I was 39, I got that back out because everybody was crowdfunding. I was like, well, this is crazy. Maybe I could, some people will read this my attempt at a superhero comic. And so it made some money, and I was like, well, this is awesome. And, but it was 10 years after I'd made it. And I was like, I'm making a second issue. And you can tell there's 10 years between my writing and drawing between 1 and 2, even though
you already is getting better with every issue.
It's ironic because I didn't draw a single thing between when I put that in that thing. I was done. I didn't want to draw. I'd drawn from my first memory until 30, and it felt I wanted to be a comic book artist my whole life, and I wasn't good enough. I couldn't get a job at a publisher. I just am not good enough, and likely will not be because I'm 40-something now, and I'm passable as a self-published. So, but it made me feel bad to try, right? So I put it away. But then when I crowdfunded that, I was like, all right, let's, maybe the story ain't over yet. And then, started do superhero comedy. And it's funny because I thought I was doing real straight-laced superheroes. And everybody says, hey, this is a lot like 90s underground comics. It's not intentional. It's that is, that's all it's mostly what I read in my teen and adult life. So I was trying to make a more superhero comic, but I am, as a writer, character driven almost exclusively, whereas
both of you
the action is secondary.
Both of you, I think the characters drive your story. I said to Terry last time you were on that you made me interested and love a character when I don't particularly like the character.
Oh yeah.
I think Katchu and I think Katchu would hate me if she was a real person. I think we would have a begrudging tolerance of each other, but I'd find her a fascinating character that I love to read about. Francine, I know she's perfect and probably your baby, but sometimes I just want to grab Francine and say, make up the damn mind for causing all the problems here. Am I wrong?
I wouldn't touch her if I were you.
That's the definition of a hot mess.
We don't want to do that.
Oh yeah, I would touch it because Francine would stop with the tolerance and go full on. I mean, Katchu.
And like Terry was saying about the action, what is the point? And I would agree. And usually my action is to show either a comedy, like something funny, or to add stakes where you go, oh no, these characters, there's danger for them or something. But
Fox, who you say your art influences, Tonicmole or Terry Moore, or both?
Me. Definitely me. Come on now.
Let's be real.
What
story have we done?
John, I just realized you've got the Infinity Gauntlet back there. Some people are looking for that.
Yes.
I think you actually have all the stones too. So, don't put that thing on.
Oh, I'm putting it on now. I'm putting it on now. You got to see. It's cool.
Okay. Well, it was nice knowing you guys.
Right.
Let's take bets. Who's disappearing? Tonicmole or Terry?
This is exactly what they were afraid of if it got in the wrong hands. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm playing with
shoot the finger with that.
Understand.
Will that shoot the finger?
Yeah.
That's what everybody asks for whenever I put that on.
That's the deleted scene I wanted to see in the movie, right there.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, just one thing. Just one thing. No, but like you were saying,
here, by the way, right now.
yeah, you do on fire. But like you were saying about like your reaction to Francine and Kachu, um, you don't see that in any medium much, and you don't see honestly. I wish I could do it. It's certainly something I'm focused on. That there's a lot of hubbubaloo about like the movie Joker, to where you kind of feel for him, but that's an extreme to where you take this super violent person and try to explain to the reader why they're super violent. But that's not really. But there's a nuance, like with your reaction to Francine and Kachu, that a very, very, very well written character um, shouldn't be obvious, right? I'm kind of fumbling through what I'm trying to say, but and that's where I think that on a more blunt hammer is the sympathetic villain. But you have like a hero that's the opposite, right? Where a hero isn't always perfect and super heroic, right? And so you have all your characters have
boring to have a perfect. That's why everybody says that they don't like Superman. I mean, I like Superman.
Right.
The fact that he's boring and perfect.
Right. And I think that those nuances are really hard, and I think it kind of goes back to people discussing what the industry of comics in general should be, and it's like, well, full of a bunch of super talented rare people, I guess. But it's that you look at Terry's run of comics, there's nothing comparable. Okay, you got some guys that for instance, one of my favorite guys ever was Jonan Vasquez, who did Johnny the Homicidal Maniac in the late 90s. And he did 9 issues, and then he did 1 or 2 one-shots, disappeared.
Yep.
And
so did my comics. I think my roommate stole them.
Right. And, so it's a very limited quantity. And so, but specifically Strangers in Paradise and all of its spin-offs and stuff, there's nothing quite like it. Like,
it's a totally unique comic.
No, you can't replace it. And I think that,
and I will say that nobody but Terry Moore could do it. Like we've proven that many people could write Batman, many people could write Superman. I don't think anybody but you, Terry, could do Strangers in Paradise or any of the spin-offs.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
I wanted to say one thing that I was kind of embarrassed to say it last time we talked. That out of all the characters, I don't know if you're going to think less of me or whatever, but the character that I most identify with is Freddie Femer. I kind of feel bad.
We all do.
I see myself. Oh, okay, all right. I was a little embarrassed to bring it up. I thought you were going to be like,
no. I mean, that's who I feel like when I'm writing him. That's who I feel like. I've put my foot in my mouth so many times, done everything wrong, and yeah. I think we can all relate to him.
Okay, all right. For those of you who don't know, Freddie Femer was like the jerk ex-boyfriend of Francine. That like in the first issue he got caught cheating on her. I don't cheat, though. I'm happily married, but I kind of feel like he's a schlub who messes up. But I've messed up in those kind of ways too. He's also a jerk, and I'm also a jerk too. So I guess I should stop talking now while I'm ahead. We have a question from Flying Fox Pro. I have a question for Mr. Mo. What motivated you to enter the market with your style of storytelling, given the market at the time was very different?
It kind of what Tonicmole was saying about our comic strip influences from indie cartoonists back in the hippie days. I had that too. So Robert Crumb was a hero as well. And I really like the underground cartoonists. And I liked superhero comics when I was a kid, but when I was 30, I didn't give a shit about anything in their universe. And but all I did care about was like real people, relationships. So if I had been like a film guy, I would have started making relationship movies, you know. But I don't can't do that. So I picked up a pen and made a movie on paper, and I just wrote about what I cared about, and what all I really cared about was people falling in and out of love and everything going wrong and all that. Well, I can't send that to DC, although I tried. I tried for 1 year with my very first issue in Xeroxes. I sent it out to all the publishers, and they all rejected it. The only publisher who would talk to me was Fantagraphics, but I wasn't talking to Gary, the head guy. I was talking to his #1 assistant, and he was saying, there's some potential here, but it's really rough, and you're not ready. And so he would send me critiques, and I talked to him for 1 year, sending him redos and all this, and I could never get. He was like a mythological beast that guarded the door at Fantagraphics. I could not get past him, and finally, at the end of the year, I just decided. I met Jeff Smith, is what happened. He came to a comic book store signing here in town, and the guys invited me over because I've been trolling the comic store, and they knew what I was trying to do, and they invited me over. I met Jeff. Hi, how you doing? Here's what I'm doing, and Jeff is really nice about it. We went out to dinner that night. They fed him Mexican food, and he explained to me how direct market worked and how you just submit to all these distributors. They take the orders, then they give you the orders. You know how many to print, and then they pay you when they get the books, and that's your income. That's where your money comes from. And back then, in 1992 or 3, there were like 18 distributors.
Yeah, I remember.
So this was a real viable living. So, and Jeff said, if you go work for DC, you're going to get page rate, which at the time was like 150 to 240 a page. So you're going to get what, $3,000 or $5,000 to draw a book. But if you self-publish it, his first issue of Bone sold 5 trillion copies, and he made $7 zillion.
Yeah,
because all he had to do was pay the printer bill.
And it's a great book. Bone
Everything else was his. All you have to do is pay the printer. Everything else is yours. So suddenly, all the indie route looked fantastic. That was the way to go. And so that's what I did. Jeff introduced me to Diamond. They offered the first issue, and then I was off and running. And that's why I did it. That I tried really hard to get into Fantagraphics, and then I just couldn't do it. I thought they were going to take me because they had Love and Rockets, but I was a poor man's Love and Rockets. And
I would say you were the non-Hispanic Love and Rockets.
Well, no, he was more like alt life. What it was like with the alternate lifestyle, and I was more mainstream. My people wore Levi's and new shirts. You know, it was different.
May I ask how many first issues, the first printing of Strangers in Paradise #1 sold?
The first issue was 3,000 copies.
3,000 copies.
And then the second reprinting, I had orders for like 1,800 reorders, because back then stuff would sell out and you would reprint.
Right.
And, so we reprinted 2,000 copies of the second printing, and then 3,000 of the third one. And so there's 3 copies out there. And this was back in the early days of Photoshop. It was Photoshop 2 point something. And when you look at the first printing of Strangers Paradise #1 from 1993, the blacks don't match because nobody knew how to work in layers and blend stuff. And so it's really a cool archive in time. It's like buying one of the first cars and the wheels are square, you know.
I found a first printed copy in a comic shop, I think in Vancouver, you know, because I had a second, and I'm a lunatic. I got to get first prints. I'm one of those kind of people. I had a second print. That was my reader's copy. And I think I got a third print because I thought it was the first print. And then I found, I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, this doesn't look right. This has to be the first printing, you know? So,
Look for those mismatched blacks, you know?
Yeah.
There's like 5 different blacks on the cover.
Same with Cerebus, right? The what do you call it? The forgery copy is a better quality than the original, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's like
and I was just giving those issues away. That was my card, my calling card. You know, here's the first issue. Here's first issue. I gave them all away.
Wow. Gave away gold.
I only have like 2 copies now.
Really?
I gave them all
sure
away.
Eastman and Loud probably gave away first that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too, you know?
Mm-hmm.
God.
right.
Tonicmole got enraged when he found out I had never read a copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I know. Come on, man. Come on.
I still have
one of my biggest regrets in life is that I did what was it? The Eisner presentations. I was a presenter of an Eisner with Kevin Eastman. And this was about 6 years ago. And Kevin is a super nice man. And but he was very shy, you know, and he wasn't chatty with me back in the green room before we went on stage. And I so badly wanted to sing him my version of the theme song to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Because when my son, my son's favorite show, and he timed out just right. He was 8 years old at the perfect time for that show. And we had our own version of the song. And I really regret not singing that to him. So yeah, you gotta take your shot, you know, when it's time.
Your power came on, huh, Tonicmole?
Yeah, my power's back on, so that's pretty cool.
I need power.
Yeah. Terry's in the dark and has power in Texas, and I'm up here in Oklahoma without power, and I'm greatly lit.
I'm in New York and it's freezing. I just went to the
you northern sucker.
I am freezing.
That's why all the pilgrims kept going.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my grandfather came to New York from Sicily. He wanted to be a cowboy, you know, and then he never made it out of New York. I'm like, you couldn't be a cowboy out here in Brooklyn, you know. He met my grandmother, and that was it. Adelina charmed him away from being a cowboy.
I found out with all this DNA 23andMe and everything, I found out that I'm like a quarter Sicilian.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Hey,
you look familiar.
Yeah. All of a sudden, you're our sauce.
Yeah. My mom was always like, "Oh, I'm a quarter Native American or something like that," and her and my brother did the 23andMe, and said, "Yeah, you're Englishman. You're totally English," and because genetics don't really work like that. You know, like where you go, well, this person was a half, and so that means a quarter, and that means an eighth. It don't really. It's a roll of the dice of which ones are activated. So, anyways, right. And so my brother went and did it, and it was like 98% English, and which my name, surprisingly enough, isn't legally Tonicmole. It's Dusty Oxford. So the fact that they're shocked that the Oxford family might be a little bit English, and
I got a package in the mail that said from Dustin Oxford. And I didn't want to open it because I thought it was a terrorist. I thought like had sent me something. And I opened it up and I was like, so right away I said, your real name is Dustin Oxford?
Right.
It's kind of elevated. Well, I feel like putting on a monocle right now. I'm talking with Dustin.
That's right. Yeah, and my brother was tracking us, like our heritage, and he was like, I think I can't remember the name, but in the 1800s and 17, like originally the name was different, but it was someone kind of famous, like they made a movie about him. Like he was the guy who really wrote William Shakespeare. And I was like, that's no, it started with last name started with a D or something. maybe. But so he did. I was like, that's not us. I just feel it. We're not. We're not the. And so I looked back and I was like, well, no, they went and changed their name to Oxford. So they were the Duke of Oxford. That wasn't their name. That was their title. Their real name was something different. And why did they come to America if they were dukes? Like, powerful. Anyways, come find out, they all died out. That had nothing to do with us. But I did find a guy with the last name Oxford that tried to kill the Queen in the 1700s or something. And I was like, that's the ticket. He died in prison. This crazy schizo guy trying to kill the Queen. That sounds pretty legit.
You're lucky you're here that they didn't just wipe out the village of Oxford.
I know. I guess that's why we're here. We ran like hell.
I think a lot of people are here because they were, we need
a
start.
My mother.
Oh, yeah.
My mother's father was McNally, and he was an IRA guy, and I know that is like controversial in itself. I never met him. He died before I was born, but he spent time in a prison ship. That he couldn't come to America. He had to move to Canada, and then he bumped into my grandma. They lived in the same village in Ireland. The whole time that he was in jail and everything, he bumped into my grandmother in Brooklyn, and it turned out she was the one that turned him in accidentally, because my grandmother, believe it or not, like me, doesn't stop talking. So she let it on that he was responsible for certain things. He got arrested, and 22 years later, they still got married. And then I think they were 40 years old and pumped out 5 kids right away. I was like, I don't know, man. I broke it up with girls because I got the mac and cheese recipe wrong. I don't know if I could get with a girl that would put me in
Send
prison.
you to prison for most of your life.
This mac and cheese, it's over. I'm sorry.
Terry, I just remembered. This March in Kansas City, barely a day's drive, maybe 2 days, Kevin Eastman is going to be at the Planicon. Jimmy Palmiotti, probably me. You can sing your song. Oh boy, that sounds like a good time.
That's a good group. You guys are going to have a
Yeah.
good time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like going to conventions, Terry?
Yeah.
I imagine it's stressful. I always look at the artist alley and the writers alley, and I'm just like, this is like real up close and personal OnlyFans, but for artists. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's like, this is my stuff. Like, girls like, this is my stuff, and you're like, I don't like your stuff. I like, you know what I mean?
I like the idea of a convention, and I love to go to a convention as a fan.
Yes,
so I can go and enjoy it, enjoy the things I love, and I love meeting the people, the cartoonists and the writers and the creators. When it's difficult is like this last New York City Con that everybody went to and got sick. It was, for some reason, it felt like it didn't feel as much like a convention as it did. Like they somehow convinced the entire city to come walk the aisles, and they were walking, but they were not looking or observing or stopping. And I feel like I was at my booth for a couple of days, and there was just, the aisle was packed all the time, but they just kept going. It was like being in a shopping mall. And they were like looking for anything they recognized, and it wasn't any of our books. It was like, I'm looking for Rags Morales or Taylor Swift or The Weeknd. I don't know. And if you didn't have an illegal art print of one of those, it was tough to get people to stop.
I've heard stories of
that's a tough show.
I've heard stories of guys who have their own comics and everything like that, and nobody's coming, and they have their original, and then they just started drawing Spider-Man and hanging it up to get people to come to this.
Listen, the most successful guy I've ever been set up next to was he didn't do a comic, and I was there doing my thing, had my stuff, and I was like, I talked to 3 people all day. Felt like this guy next to me was just blowing prints out right and left, $20 prints right and left. He was just doing that. And what he had done was he had made like 6 full color 11 by 17s prints of Wizard of Oz.
Oh wow.
He was a good artist, and he worked in color, and he had a fun cartooning style, and he had made these wizards. And every single family that walked by recognized it on site, liked it, got a print. This guy went home with his pockets bulging with $20 bills because he was making beautiful prints of something every mom and dad recognized. The prints were $20. I mean, he was making more money than a drug dealer.
Wow.
Why?
Well,
Why don't I ever learn that lesson? Why don't I do that? You know, I just
it's like a band. You know, like when I played in a band, we were terrible, but I couldn't play other people's songs, right? I wasn't there to be a CD. I was there to play the songs that I wrote, and they were wildly unpopular. And then one time I said, well, I'll play a Nirvana song, right? And back there I was even shaggier type. I could pull off the Nirvana thing. And so I'm screaming, playing Nirvana and stuff. This girl comes up, she's hanging off of me and all this. Everybody's going, yeah. And I was like, yeah, this ain't going to work. I don't care. I really do not want to play other people's songs. And that's like me with drawing. I have no interest in drawing Batman at all. And I mean, when I was a little kid, I did. And I'm not into drawing like fan art, especially of conglomerates. But and the few times I draw fan art of somebody's character, boy, they don't like it because I have this fever where it has to be different, right? I don't want to just, I want to put my spin on it, and it's always like horrible. But at Comic-Cons, no, that's exactly
that true. She's gonna have tentacles, Terry.
That's right. It's good. Gotta do the tentacles. I got a brand to keep up. But yeah, at Comic-Cons,
it's just tentacles. Yeah.
Right. I was sitting next to a lady who had, she had these. It's just cups that had little chibi Marvel and DC characters on it, and selling like crazy. I, of course, sell nothing because I never do. But yeah, all of that type stuff was selling like crazy. But I mean, I could make money doing lots of different things. And I choose to draw my own comic.
At the New York Comic Con, to the right of me, 2 people down, was a lady who always had a line. And we have very small little 6-foot table space. And she had set up these vertical display things like you would at a craft show. And she had a lot of like little keychains that she had made and crochet stuff and all that kind of stuff. But it was all kind of playing off of Japanese manga and all that kind of stuff, like anime and all that. She did a fantastic business.
Yeah.
And we sat there and stared at her the whole time. And, you know, you get like a $7 manga cat keychain. And I'm thinking, why did I spend 30 years drawing this freaking book when I could have
I don't, if I, you know, I it's no secret I have a comic coming out. And if I went and got a Tonicmole version of my character or a Terry Mold and it didn't look like your original style, I would be like upset. Like, don't you know? I want, you know, if I want a Tonicmole drawing, I want a Tonicmole drawing. You know, I don't understand that, but I guess most casuals who go through a convention, I guess whatever. I
tell like my cover artists and stuff, like my buddy, Illustrator Monk and whatnot. Like my first thing was always, you know. Yeah, I have a character design, but it ain't no big deal, right? Draw what you think, like just your spin on it, because that's fun. Because one thing, even though my comic's a little bit weird, black and white kind of underground type thing, I wanted to mimic some of the things you see in mainstream. For instance, it's very interesting seeing how Batman evolved from Bob Kane to Frank Miller to Jim Lee and stuff, right? The design changes dramatically, just gradually over time. Like it's leapfrog. People take the one thing because, like, forever he started with a little bat, and then they said, "Oh, put a yellow circle around it," and then like Frank Miller and stuff said, "No, just a bigger bat," and that it evolved over time. And I think about like UFO sightings and Bigfoot, how it starts really one way, and then as everybody's passing it back and forth, it becomes refined. And people say, "Oh, I love Batman." They probably usually not talking about 1940s Batman.
Right,
It's what he's become over a century. Anyways,
I know the Spider-Man in my head is still drawn by John Romita.
Right.
Yeah.
But and you look at Steve Ditko to Todd McFarlane, right? This evolution. I wanted some of that to at least the idea, and so I tell everybody just do your thing because I want some of that evolution to where different
other people's spins on your characters.
Exactly, and everybody's kind of done their own thing. That's really influenced how I like draw the costume and stuff because I go, "Oh, that was really good." And
we saw Jim Lee do your characters, Terry.
Yeah,
and in color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was cool.
That was fun. Which begs the question: Are Francine and Ketchu? I forget. Are they comic book fans? Like in continuity in the story, would Ketchu be caught dead in a comic book store picking up a Saving the World comic? She likes Saving the World, I think.
Yeah, actually,
she'd buy a good one.
She has been around. There's sketches of her meeting fanboys and stuff like that. And yeah, she could go into a comic store and hold her own. Just the same, she could go into a club or a strip club or a liquor store, any of those seedy joints.
David was a comic fan, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes, I mean everybody. I assume that most all those characters have grown up with similar childhoods that we did, where you were around those books and you read some of them at least. They may not know the B list of characters on down, but they know the A list, and they've certainly seen a comic.
In my head canon, Freddie Femer is a huge comic book fan.
Yeah, but he would be on the off brands, right? He invested heavily in all the publishing companies that are no longer here.
Yeah, he's a speculator too. Now I can't like him.
Yeah. I was picturing
like a full run of the Purple Minks. That's absolutely
yeah.
He's the one who stole my what's his name comics, Vasquez, the one who made the 90s.
Yeah, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac.
Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. He took.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Oh man, that comic was good. And then he got freaking hired by like Nickelodeon immediately,
right.
and then he never turned back. He's like, "Well, I don't have to draw comics no more. That's cool."
And comedians become actors, and they don't do stand up anymore.
Yeah. But Jonan was a massive influence just by like he would draw in the margins, and then his borders would have things like hidden in them and all this type stuff. Just like, and then like at the beginning of each of his issues, which I mean, a lot of indie do this, so it's kind of indie in general. But he would talk about his life, and I remember getting to the issue where he said, "I quit Taco Bell," like he could quit, and it was like, as a reader, you're like, "Hell yeah, dude, you did it!" And so,
said he was able to quit working at the deli. He was working at a deli while he was making some great comics.
Right.
Buy my comics. I don't have to do construction anymore. My knees hurt.
Right. It was less fun with like Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. They're like their second issue. We're goddamn rich as hell. It was more immediate.
Yeah. I still remember having a comic in my hand and getting in. They're making fun of comic books. They're making fun of Daredevil. and not only didn't buy it, but I refused to read anything. I never watched the only up until I met Tonicmole, the only Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle was a board game that is phenomenal. Guys, come on over. We'll play. We need 5 people to play. We need 4 turtles and then 1 person plays Splinter. And I'm usually Splinter.
You know, I was the last Comic-Con I went to. You know, Jim Lawson draw like me, and he does a lot of Saving the World stuff. And I got to go. We were both at a convention, so I actually got to meet him in person. And he was there, like signing Ninja Turtle stuff like crazy. And even when I first met him, like we were emailing each other, I didn't know. You know how there's those rock bands that hate their #1 song,
Yeah.
and so I was kind of like, and it was something I had a joke a joke in the issue that
Did you
was
sing the Turtles theme to him? And
no, I didn't. No, no, I didn't. I'm saving that. And so, but no, he loves Ninja Turtles. He drew them for 30 years, and but like yeah, talking to him about all this stuff, it was, you know, that comic. I grew up. I'm probably the age of Terry's son, or pretty close, like in that thing. Because me, it was the cartoon, right? That's where I knew Ninja Turtles existed. I was 2 years old when the comic came out, but I was about 7 or 8 when the cartoon came out, and so it was all about the cartoon. And oddly enough, Jim Lawson, I first saw his art in TMNT Adventures. Because I didn't know that, yeah, it was published by Archie, but it was for distribution. It was still the same dudes and handling everything. And but anyways, that fluke of a black and white comic, and then there happened to be a toy manufacturer that understood the property and made $1 billion in a year.
When am I going to get my Kachu action figure? You know?
Yeah, what's up?
There is one with like 9-point articulation.
Did I miss it? Where?
Yeah, it's out there.
Oh my God! I gotta go, guys. I gotta go do something.
I haven't seen it in a very long time, but there is one. Yeah.
Oh wow!
I don't know why.
Is there a Francine one with her top falls off?
Clothes fall off. I don't know why it exists. I'm trying to remember where it came from. Oh, somebody was doing action figures, you know, like of all the comics that would, you know, like the top 100 comics, and somebody was going around doing that. You want an action figure? We'll do it. Here's our deal, and we did it. And so yeah, one exists. It's from the 2000s or something.
I just want to say, Flying Fox Fro, your son is my favorite person in the world. We had a bad storm here about 3 weeks ago, and I had to go up on the roof and hand pull out stuff out of the gutter because that's how bad it got. And the little kid across the street, he's in kindergarten. So how old is that? 5 years old. He yells, "Mom, look, Santa, Santa!" So I told him, "You better be good, or you get no presents." He's like, "Oh, Terry, I also wanted to ask you." And I, you know, we talked so much last time. In one of the issues, I forget what issue, I remember turning the page and it's text, and there was a few pages of text. And I remember going, I don't want to read text. I bought a comic book, so I'm joking, but I ended up reading.
No, that's a valid. Yeah,
no, that was total joke. I read it, but I always wanted. At this point, were you thinking like, I want to write a novel? Like, is this like Terry Moore? Like, let's experiment and make a Saving the World novel.
No,
Strangers in Paradise. That one's mine.
If you go browsing for artists, people that keep notebooks on, say, Instagram, where it's easy to find artists real fast and a bunch of them, you'll notice that there are 2 kinds of artists out there. There's the kind that all I do is draw, and you don't even need them to talk. They don't have any message or world message for you. They just draw. Look, I'm drawing these gorgeous girls every day, or I do these incredible landscapes, or look, I'm drawing all these buildings freehand. That's all they do. Then there's another kind of artist who is more like, oh yeah, $90 for a Kachu.
Yeah, I'd just like to say tonight's live stream is going to cost me $90 plus shipping.
I don't have one here to show you. But anyway, there's that. There's the artist who just draws. And then there's the other kind of people who are total creative flakes. And I have a feeling that, maybe Tonicmole and I fall in this category. And you look at their sketchbooks and there's a lot of writing in there as well. There's drawings, but there's also writing. So in my sketchbooks, there's poetry and
Yes.
I'll write out an entire paragraph of a scene of somebody having to answer the door, but they have diarrhea. I gotta go. I'll get that in my head and I'll write the scene out. And I'm not at a computer. I just write it into my notebook. So my notebook is full of drawings and creative writing and all that. And that's just the kind of creator I am. And I'm definitely in a genre. There's a billion people like me that do that. And so I thought when I finally got my comic book going, Stranger in Paradise, one thing I learned from my music career was like Tonic, I was in a band and I had a demo reel and I took it to a producer who was basically just a guy who owned the studio. And I played him 10 songs. And after listening to a bit of each one, he said, you know what?
He said, make a comic book.
No, he said, you have 10 songs here and there's one good idea in each song. But the rest of the song is just whatever. Why don't you take all your ideas and make one great song, get it out of your system, and then wait and get a whole bunch of other good ideas and make another song and work like that so that you don't spread yourself out like that. You get one shot at with somebody's attention, give it everything. So when I got my book, I thought, am I just going to draw like traditional comic panels like I'm working for Archie? Or do I just tell you everything I can about Kachu, whether it's visual or a poem or a song or a prose section? Because I can draw like Kachu got out of the car mad. She went to the front door, opened it, and went upstairs and started crying on the bed. Or, that's 6 panels. Or I can write it in a page and do it in that one. I can tell you how she felt and how the bedroom smelled and how the doorbell was slippery and how she, how things felt, the tactile part of things. And I realized that, I need to just do everything in one book, and put it all in one book and just that way, if you don't like the book, then you rejected everything I can possibly do to win you over, not just this one aspect of my creativity.
I want to ask this question to both of you guys, and we've been talking for an hour, so I always give everybody an out to say let's go. But I wanted to ask you, you both have female-centric books. Are the characters inspired by anybody that you know? Are these your wives, your sisters, your girlfriends, your dream girls? The girl that said no.
Yeah. So pretty much all. All of them. My wife a lot. Like my wife will be like, she's Octo Girl a lot, but also Kira in a way. And so like my wife is like 10 different characters, but just kind of a different aspect of that. And I think infused with me because it's funneling through me, right? So there's aspects of that.
Is she flattered or horrified by that?
I'm not totally certain.
What's her email? I'll ask it. Is Kachu Francine or anybody? Darcy? Anybody? Please tell me you don't know a Darcy.
I have met Darcy.
Oh my God.
When I was a TV editor, I was, you picture a guy at the editing suite and you get clients, right? So I was a musician in my 20s, and in my 30s, I was a TV editor. And the clients would come in. And sometimes these clients could be the ad agency, or it's the client that hired the ad agency. So it's the wealthy person with the product or whatever, or the head of a corporation. So sometimes I would get these people in the room, and I remember a couple of ladies who came in who were very powerful, and you could tell I had worked with the ad agency people for a couple of days, and I knew what they were like normally. And this lady walked into the room and they froze. And there was what I remember taking away from it that really was that there was not a single thing any of us could say that would interest her. She had zero interest.
Like most girls when I was in college.
Zero interest in us, our lives, what we're doing. Just show me what the product is, and then I'm going to go back out and get in my ride and go back to my tower. And that's what I took away with me to do, like Darcy Parker, which was like everybody was beneath her. But as far as like the regular people, they're really just conglomerations of everybody I've ever known. And this is ironically when it's funny you say that, because last week on my YouTube channel, I posted about why is it some middle-aged bald white guy can think that he can write these characters that are not him. People that don't read books think that you need to stay in your lane. Like, you know, if you're this, you can't write about somebody else on the other side.
Yeah, I have strong feelings about that. Yeah.
So I get that. I see that flashback coming out from strangers on the on the web. But you can tell who's read your book or not. You know, like once somebody reads the book, that conversation's over. If they haven't read the book, then they're like, John, what in the world would you know about writing about a 24-year-old hooker who has to dance to pay for the food?
I would say, you don't know me.
Right? So
you don't know me and my struggles.
Right. You don't know me. So it's about
man's gotta eat.
it's the same way that an artist can draw people that are not him. That's you could make the same argument, like an artist should only draw.
That's actually very good. That's
well, I should only draw bald white guys.
Right.
How do I
but nobody should
draw somebody I'm looking at. You know,
nobody could write Batman. You know,
so it's the same way as a writer. In the same way that an artist can draw somebody very much not like them on the subway, it's the same way for the writer. And the way the writer does it, here's how you do it. You don't infuse yourself and use people as mouthpieces. What you do is the writer, can I cuss?
Yeah, good.
What the writer needs to do is shut the fuck up. And listen.
Yes.
Listen to other people. And then when you sit down to write their story, tell the truth, say what they said, not what you say, not what you're thinking. You know, don't use people as pieces.
Yeah, I've had a few where somebody kind of has something, they're like, well, oh, okay, here's a good example. I had a joke in which Kira and Nora show up because they hear something on the police scanner, like somebody shooting or something. And by the time they get there, the cops have shot the guy, and they're standing on a rooftop far away, and they're like, well, that happened. We can't, they don't need us really. And one says, you think they could have just used a taser on the little guy because he's like the skinny dude. And then he gets back up because this is a freaking superhero comic and he heals or whatever. He gets up and they run down there because now he's shooting at the cops and they're hiding and stuff. They jump down because it's superhero time. And he has a gun and is shooting at them. And this is like the first thing they ever did. And once they were in the line of fire, suddenly Kira grabs this car and flings it over her head and smashes him and all this stuff. Now, the joke I was going for was, at first they're like, they could have used a taser on this guy. But then when they were in the position, suddenly, it's
Yeah, throwing
It's our
a car
lives.
is appropriate. Yeah.
Smash him with a car, which doesn't kill him because yada yada. And then at the very end, because this guy can heal rapidly, the only way to stop him is mace and tasers because it puts him in a state of pain. He won't ever die or be injured, but he feels mace and tasers. So the whole freaking joke over this whole issue was, this back and forth of one argument, right, about when you should use force or not, and it ended up being who knows, right? So,
walk
but
a mile in my shoes.
right. So some guys were like, "Oh, this is like a statement on like guns." It's like, no, read the whole comic. The whole joke is the whole comic is that I never give you any type of answer. The superheroes, once in the line of fire, suddenly smash him. But come to find out, no, none of that was going to work. And the whole solution was the original mace and tasers. Anyways, but so, boy, I'm totally lost what my train of thought was. But but I had a guy thinking there was a political statement there, and it's like, do you know me? But where there wasn't. It was just like, isn't it funny if you think about something long enough, it disintegrates in your hand like cotton candy and water? Whoop whoop whoop, it's gone. And so that was my whole thing. But yeah,
people tend to react according to where they are in life.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's like, that's the parable of the three blind men looking at an elephant.
Absolutely.
And they're all on opposite
Good
ends.
example.
Yeah. What was that? Who did?
I just read a comic this week, and
story,
unfortunately, I had access to the writer and artist of said comic, and I said, he said this, and I interpreted it very, very dark, and he said, well, that tells more about you because I left it ambiguous, and then I kind of felt a little ashamed of myself. I said, but I'm because I didn't know whether or not I should start hating this character. But
okay,
I think that's what you guys are saying. Like, you interpret it whatever you want. It kind of reveals more about you. But
I just
back to the original question: can Terry write about two women who fall in love? Absolutely, he's doing a great job. I had a writing teacher in college, Mr. Marquez, who's I forget where in South America he's from. He was writing a novel about Irish immigrants in the 30s. And then as he's telling what his novel's about, one of the girls in the class goes, "But you're not Irish," and he waited for that and then slammed the hammer down. He says, there's this thing writers do. It's called listening, doing research, getting prepared. He goes, and of course, if you're writing about Irish immigrants in the 30s and you're a 60-year-old Mexican, you got to do the research. And his wife, who ironically was Irish, is writing about the Aztec Empire, and that's how they met, crossing dude. And he says, but that's it. You do research. I don't know about you guys, but I can't fly, and I'm writing a comic about a guy who could fly. He's got 7 kids. I'm not a father, you know what I mean? But I had a father who had 7 kids. I have friends who have kids. I'm listening. Am I confident enough to write, say, 2 girls who fall in love? Not yet, but I'm not going to say no.
Well,
see,
you can pull out every book that's ever been written. Mary Shelley writing about Frankenstein. What does she know about it? And nailed it. I mean, this is just how it works. I think the people that
J.K. Rowling write about Harry Potter, a school kid.
They're not the people that are saying that. Just walked across the street from some of our real life problems about how we're all divided and everything is so terrible. And so then they walk over here to your book and your story, and they think, whoa, that's not your voice. What the hell? What are you doing? You're the same thing. We're protesting over here in the park.
Right.
And it's not that way. Books don't work that way. Can we answer a question over here? Because it's sitting here like Fly Fox Pro is saying my art skills have improved way beyond.
Oh, sure. I don't. My eyes just. I saw 2 big things, and I thought I just brought it up. My art skills have improved way beyond the first pages of my comic. Do I leave them as they are and publish the book with inconsistent art, or go back and read your other? Well, I can't answer this one, guys. So luckily, we have 2 masters of the craft right here.
My answer is immediate. Keep going forward. I swear to God, I could still be revising my first issue because I got better and better and better every day. The getting better never stops. So your revisions would never stop. You have, and I saw my learning curve. I was aware of my learning curve happening from like issue 2, 3, 4, 5, and I realized that number 1 to me now looks like I drew it with my left hand while I was in a coma, and I could do so much better now. But no, I'm going to leave it right there where it is.
My best art is not as good as Terry Moore with his left hand in a coma.
No,
that's my quote of the day.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's exactly right. And it's not only that, I would say it's a artist. Every comic I've drawn, I wish the last page was representative of the whole thing. But your readers are probably not going to notice. You'll notice more than they do. And yeah, it will drive you insane because it hopefully will never stop. Like, I talked about, one of the artists that fascinates me the most is Amanda Connor. So she started in the 90s drawing Barbie and stuff, and is still going. And if you look at every year of,
she could do facial expressions. She's up there with Kevin McGuire. I think it's one of the best facial expressions in bar none.
And her art style has refined that whole time. And so, yeah, it's hopefully it will just continue to refine. And so, yeah, you would drive yourself mad. I have from when I was a teen.
Lucas, and you're tampering too much, and now
right.
Guido shot first, which to me validates the entire character.
Well, I would add that too. Not only should you keep going, don't look back and go, oh, I can polish this. I did it once for Saving the World #1. When I did the second print, there was some just really, really bad panels, and I polished them up. It didn't do nothing other than me thinking, well, that's a little better, but it was pointless. And I told myself, I'm never going back over the art because it's.
Done that, Terry, in your first print, second print, have you ever polished everything up, cleaned everything up?
I've never gone back and polished. I might fix a super bad continuity problem or something, but not no vanity polishing. And my intention is to treat my career as a journey, and I know I'm going to leave this trail behind me, and it is what it is. That's what I did last year, and I'm all about this year. So I'm always just looking forward.
I have a question for both of you guys. Just say the comic book Lord and Master just says you got a dream project, but it's not your own. What would you do?
Like, what would the project be?
Yeah, you could get anybody's project, but you can't. You can't pick Saving the World, Terry. You can't do any of your past projects. So you could do somebody else. What would you do?
I have an immediate answer.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Terry first.
Okay, if we go to dinner and start talking about Marvel Comics, we're not going to get very far before I start my bitter rant about Gwen Stacy and how much I hate that issue where and
was she died?
Oh well, spoilers, yeah. Okay. Well, just tell everybody out there, break their hearts. Okay,
it didn't take.
Okay, but I was a delivery boy when that came out. I was driving around town delivering things, and I stopped to get lunch at a 7-Eleven, lunch was Cheetos and a Coke, and the new issue of Spider-Man was there, and it was this issue. And I sat in the car and read this issue, and at the end, read the end where she's dying there. I was so mad. I threw the comic out the window of the car. I did not buy another comic book for 10 years. Wow. That's how mad
I was. On Gwen Stacy.
Oh, mad. And the guy, I was so mad that I wasn't just mad at the story. I was mad at the writer, the guy who wrote the story, because he had just ended my entire, I had enjoyed Spider-Man from the beginning, and it was over. That was the end. And it was like killing Barbie, so it's so bad that I started ranting about it. It became a joke in my world. And a couple of years ago, I was at a convention, and that writer was there at the convention. And everybody said, "What are you going to do?" And I walked over and looked at his booth.
That's for
And
Gwen
he
Stacy.
had a banner up behind his booth. The writer that killed Gwen Stacy, it was on his booth banner. I thought, oh my God, this guy's the Antichrist.
Well,
So,
have you,
if I could work on a comic, I would like to do something to right that wrong in the universe. It's as if the universe is made of ones and zeros, and that writer took all the ones away. Somebody needs to put a one back and just get us started in balance again.
Oh wow, that's interesting. You know, because I'm of the, well, not that I rooted for her to die, but to me that was like such a turning point that I'm mad that they brought back clones and Gwen.
Yes, that all sucks. That's horrible zombie. That's zombie stuff.
That is just invalidating what I thought was an important. That's like,
you know what that's like? Those are like Elvis imitators.
Right.
Yeah.
Elvis was cool. Elvis
Romeo and Juliet too. Juliet lives. You know, you just leave it. To me, that was a comic book milestone, and you invalidated it.
The damage is done. It's like you know what it's like? It's like he killed Snoopy. And now we've got Snoopy, zombie Snoopies and everything.
Right. You don't like Ghost Snoopy and Spider Snoopy?
Horrible. It's horrible. You can't fix it. You made a terrible mistake.
What you said, that's kind of the way I feel about Marvel now. Like I'm a guy who grew up reading Marvel, and like, you know, that now that they're teasing that maybe Rob Liefeld's going to go back, and Tom Brevoort just said yesterday that they're going to course correct the next one, and I'm just like, you broke them. You like, I don't know if I could go back. You know.
Wait, you know that Gwen Stacy didn't die in Mexico, like
right?
If you get the comics in Mexico, she doesn't die. And like Peter, like they get married and all this. It goes on for like at least a few years with Gwen Stacy still alive, and everything moves on forward because she was too popular in Mexico. Something, or maybe the editor down there said, "No, we're not going to do this." So they just made a completely different comic where Gwen Stacy didn't die.
Yep.
It's just you got to learn Spanish.
What made me even madder about it, the more I learned about it later on, was that, you know, the guy was 21 at the time. So he just wanted to make a name for himself, and this was the biggest splash thing he could do. And to let a 21-year-old who doesn't give a shit about anything at that age to go in and just wreck the IP like that, I can't believe that the editorial office let him do that. I can't believe that the adults in the building said, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, let's go with that."
Right.
I remember them saying that it was, you know, Spider-Man's motivating factor was guilt for letting somebody die, and they got tired of the Ben, you know, Uncle Ben. So now it was time to, you know, reamp it.
Fill it.
Yes, so
got to fill that refrigerator back up.
Every 10 years, they were going to kill off a Spider-Man guy to reamp the guilt.
Maybe what I really wish is, I wish I had a TARDIS so that I could go back to that editorial meeting and push them all out the window.
Yeah. So I had a similar thing. I think I was 13 or something. Yeah, I'd have been 12 or 13. And I was really 10 to 13 is when I really collected like mainstream comics. I had like 5 or 6 that I reread all the time when I was a kid, like just like 6 Batman comics. Yeah, and they were my world. That's all I needed. And but then I got into collecting when I was probably 10 or so. And I was collecting Batman, and it was from the Nightfall, the beginning of Nightfall and stuff, where Bruce Wayne's all sick, but he's still fighting. And then he gets his back broken. And, you know, it felt like history in the making. Bruce Wayne gets defeated by Bane, and it's this big deal. And then Night Quest starts. There's a new Batman, Azrael, and he's kind of violent, and he's wearing this crazy suit. Well, I had no idea. This was the first time I'd consistently monthly read a comic, right? I didn't know the history of this might not stick. And so to me, it was so impactful. Like, this is amazing. And and then Night Quest, I was reading that, and it was very interesting where it was this darker Batman, even though he kind of looked goofy in a robot suit. But, you know, as a 12-year-old kid or whatever, it's cool. And I was reading it, and then it reaches the end, and Bruce Wayne's like, "I'm back, baby," and and he's wearing a suit that's mildly different than the one he wore before, right? So
Right.
suddenly, it's probably because I was 13 and suddenly said, "Oh, this is all crap, isn't it?" But it didn't help that the storyline just fizzles into nothing, and they're like, Batman suits slightly differently now, and then by like 3 more issues, they're like, anyways, yeah, we're giving him back his old suit because you didn't like that one either. And I was like, so nothing? And
Right.
and I didn't read Superman.
That's what
Right,
Chuck
and
Dixon says. For when you have 70-year runs of characters,
right.
you have to have the illusion of change. Like, nobody believed Superman was going to die, and what happened?
Right.
It was a big media event. People bought these comics. They bagged and boarded. My brother has bagged and boards in his safety deposit box that are worth 50 cents. And ultimately, what happened? Superman had a mullet for a year and a half.
And you know, and yeah, Superman was happening at roughly the same time,
Right.
and but yeah, it kind of woke me up that you cannot tell good stories really. There's some trades. I really like Frank Miller's stuff, but that's because it's whatever he wants, and he can do whatever it is he feels like, and so yeah, that ended up being, you know, the thing I would read. But that's what kicked me out of mainstream. And I think in 94 is when the Crow movie came out. So like I was being introduced to a lot of offbeat indie stuff through movies. And sadly, because I hate being the guy, you know, they're always like, oh, you only know because of the movie. It's like, yes. Yes. So for Ghost World, I saw the movie before I read the comic. And but I become fan, you know, once I do read the comics, then I go, wow, the comics are so much better than the movies. I love the movies, but they can't hold a candle to them.
Getting back to Death characters, like you know, Death of Superman, we all knew. Like if in more recent times when they did the Superior Spider-Man, Peter Parker was gone. Like at this point, I'm all jaded, and I know that character is going to die. But when David died in Saving the World, what's wrong with me? Strangers in Paradise. I was like, "There's no multiverse," and I'm like, "This is real." Like, and again, I said this last time you were on my channel. I couldn't stand David when I first met him. I thought he was this like pathetic, whimpering boy that was just, you know, sniffing up Ketchu's sleeves, and then you got me to like him again, and then you killed him. I was like, you know, and he ain't coming back because I don't see a TARDIS, I don't see a Doctor Doom space platform, you know.
Like that. When I was writing that, I had all of my history, my scars, my wounds from Spider-Man and Gwen were very much, you know, defining how I navigate my own story. And notice that I did not kill Francine, right? It was David. And what Marcus Killigrew was pointing out that, you know, killing Gwen was John Romita Sr.'s idea. They wanted to shake it up. Well, they should have used Betty Brant, you know, or because taking away Peter's Francine, and then just chucking him off over to MJ, who had no interest in him. He was just, you know, that was just the kooky friend. And everything after that to me was like an alternate universe. It was like the wrong, you know, it's like Earth 2 to me. And so I don't know, they chose badly. That meeting should have taken a little longer than it did. They should have discussed it more.
Oh wow, this is.
I'm not letting it go. I am dying on this hill. This is the hill I will die on.
Terry is wounded. I didn't realize
I am wounded. I am bitter. It was 55 years ago, and I'm still mad.
Oh wow. Yeah. Well,
oh wait, I forgot. I would do Gen 13.
Oh, that's your comp. Yeah, we never. You would do Gen 13.
Yeah, it's been done better than.
You kick off that troublemaking writer who did Gen 13 bootleg and rewrite that.
Yeah, that's right. there's a particular one. No,
There was a crime against humanity.
right. And it's funny because I mean I couldn't do it better, right? It would be worse. Nobody would like it. But like as I would love to do it like you know how there's grunge, but he's this giant muscle tattoo guy.
Yeah.
He's not right. It was the mainstream idea of what grunge is, like skateboard and
it's what the cool guy. It's what the 40-year-olds think the younger guys.
right.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
always loved that when you saw the ads of the skateboarding kids with spiky collars and
Right.
all my skateboarding friends had ripped jeans and whatever T-shirt that didn't fit their older brother anymore.
Right. Now it's kind of revealing of what saving the world is, because all I would do with Gen 13 is make it Ghost World, but Gen 13, which is exactly largely what I try with saving the world. The original
Gen 13 and turn it into saving the world.
I would just change the names of my characters vaguely.
So your recipe for saving the world is what 2 books? What 2 series? Influential.
Oh, 2. Okay. Well, mostly Ghost World and Gen 13 probably. And then there's some it's the comic that made me think superheroes was actually semi-viable was Jimmy Palmiotti, Justin Gray, and Amanda Connor's run on Power Girl. I hadn't read a mainstream comic in over a decade. And I picked that up and I was like, this isn't stupid. Like this is, and I didn't like Superman. I definitely didn't like shared universes, like with Superman and Batman and all that. I thought it was kind of goofy, but I read that comic and I was like, I actually kind of find it interesting as a setting for a real story, right? If you told a real good story inside that setting, it's kind of fascinating. And so that made me go, well, maybe, superheroes can be an interesting setting for, normal, what if you put normal characters in these fantastic settings? I don't think I don't get anywhere remotely close to them, but that is at least that would be the goal. I always wanted
I have a goal for my comics, and there's no way I'm going to hit that goal, but it's right. Keeping my focus on, and every day I'll try to get closer to it.
Because Terry was talking about Fantagraphics, and that was the dream. That was like for most people, DC, Marvel, that was mine. If I could get published by Fantagraphics, that'd be the coolest thing ever. It never even got remotely close, but I did send stuff. I sent stuff in, and I might have gotten a little cat. I might have got a form letter.
Do you think it was a blessing in disguise that you formed your own Abstract Studios and did it all on your own?
Yeah, definitely. That was fate kicking me in the gut. No, go the other way. Go the other way. There have been a lot of times in my life where I'm trying to get something to happen and it's just a wall. And I go over here, and when I look back, I can see how that worked. But if I'd gone to Fantagraphics, I would have made a lot less money. I wouldn't have lasted near as long. The publisher would have taken most of the money. And working for a publisher is not the key to your success. That's not what you're looking for. That's not what you need. What you need is readers. And the publisher's just in the way and taking 70% of everything that comes in. This is why Kickstarter has been a good thing. Crowdfunding has been a good thing. You get those people out of the way, and it's just you and your readers, your fans.
So do you two guys do enjoy being your own Stan Lees, your own Carnival Barkers, going out and selling your own comics? Like, would it be easier just to do the dance slot? Here's my script.
No. I think both Tonic and I are both kind of like, I would rather just be left alone and just make this stuff and put it out.
Well, in Tonic's behalf, the courts decided that he should be alone. So
Right, legally mandated.
Have you noticed that the guys who are doing really well are the guys who are really people oriented, like Jimmy Palmiotti and Billy Tucci, Brian Polito. These guys can command a table. They can command a panel. They're bigger than life. They fill the room. But
they could almost have a regular TV show, just like they're like the Rat Pack. You know, I want to know what you guys are saying. You know what I mean? I could see them with martinis and talking, and they're dressing well, talking comic books, talking whatever. You know, they're charming.
Yeah, and that's a good thing when you're going out and drumming up business. You attract people to your positivity. But that's not necessarily. That's two different jobs. Right. That's getting a product into people's hands. There's a whole different mindset to like create a story I've never read before and make it really cool. That has nothing to do with going out and talking to 1,000 people. That is all about like, sit here until you think of something new that I can't think of the original reference.
Could either one of you guys get up on a podium and give a prepared speech or an extemporaneous speech about, you know, comic books or something that you know about?
I probably
those panels are.
I'm sorry?
I probably could. It would be ludicrous, but I tell you a story. So when at my junior year, yeah, like I just sat in class and drew, right? So I just drew constantly, and the teachers would give me passing grades because I'm not going to say I was manipulative, but I convinced them I was far smarter than I was, right? So they thought, you know how there's that misconception, right? It was at least a mix. That whole Einstein got really bad grades because he's a genius, right? That's not true. He got really good grades because he was a genius. But at the time, that was a big thing, that maybe some of these kids are really smart. I think they thought that or something. So they'd give me C's just so I keep going, and I just drew. Anyways, long story short, all the girls are having the class president and vice president and all that election deals. And I said, I'm gonna run for the vice president because my friend was running for president. And they all like scoffed at us, smoking slackers, attempting to run for class office. So I get up there I kind of shamble my way up there, and I say, I would like your vote for the junior class president. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because all the men want to be me and all the women want me, right? And it started this big old rant of just the most cliche, stupid stuff, right? Anyways, I won unanimously. So
you danced like Napoleon Dynamite.
No, it wasn't totally so off. It was close. So anyways, but I mean, I kind of like some of the showmanship, but like Terry said, it is like it's so many hats. So when people go, why did this guy succeed and not this person? Why did this actor get roles but not this person? It's because none of these jobs creatively, definitely, you have to be so good to only do one job and succeed, right? So because the competition, but if you're self-published, you have to do every single job, and they're not conducive of each other. Marketing,
drawing and writing is almost like a shy person's activity. You know, you
right.
I think a lot of people became artists because, you know, you can keep your head down, you can do, and then people come over, they see why is your head down. Oh, it's not because I'm antisocial, I'm drawing. It's almost like and then writing is the same thing. Like, so
yeah,
again, I'm not an expert, but I could see like a lot of comic book professionals would be uncomfortable getting up and being the star of the show and talking. Like Steve Ditko said, I never saw what that guy looked like until I was in my 40s, because this is my work. You don't need me.
Yeah, there's a guy who does this comic White Widow, and it's kind of the crowdfunding scene and stuff. And he did some covers for like Top Cow, stuff like that. Anyways, he does his own comic. And I went to a convention, and this lady was there. Well, he don't go to conventions because he's deathly afraid. Like he just doesn't like people. And
good.
Right, so he has this lady go instead of him, and she was like, he's a little bit like J. Scott Campbell type stuff, like the ladies and stuff. Yeah. And I pretend to be, but I'm not. But the J. Scott Campbell type thing. And he would have this girl dress up as the character or whatever. Well, eventually he was like, "You just go. I'm not going." So there's people that I mean, at conventions, nobody gives a shit who I am, and I don't. They come up to, I go, "Please buy something." Oh, nope. So I don't really get that, opportunity or whatever. But most of my stuff's all just begging on Twitter. But yeah, anyways, long story short, Terry, the hats, so many hats. And there's a reason almost every cartoonist has a wife, because somebody has to do the rest of, like, you'd go insane. You have to have so many self-published comics have like, Brian Pulido, his wife is the publisher. That is very common, because it takes at least two people at bare minimum. And it's, different hats. It's really hard for me that writing and drawing, it's the same thing. I write. I would say I'm a writer who draws on a necessity. Like, if I didn't have to draw, I probably wouldn't. Like, I don't draw ever unless I'm drawing a comic. Like, I'll have one sheet that's all my character designs, and I just draw them all in one thing. But most of the time I design them when I get to the panel they're in, and I'm like, uh-oh. And I do. And I don't hate drawing. It's just, I see it in my head. I only have to draw it if I want someone else to see it. And so, but I love writing. But the writing, I think, is how I express myself. Drawing is because I have to.
Let me get to Terry now, because we're getting on 2 hours now. What do you think? Is comic books a shy man's activity, and is it difficult, do you think, to promote yourself?
It's different. It depends on how dedicated you are. Because what I've noticed is that the people who are really, really, really great at something, it's because they gave up a lot of almost everything else to just spend all their time doing that. Like, whether it's an artist or like a jazz guitarist, they don't do anything else. That's all they do. And that's how they got into that zone, their own level. So it kind of, you generate this person that lives alone, works 16 hours a day. They don't have a normal life. You've seen every movie that came out this year. They saw none of them. That kind of thing, And it's hard for normal people to picture that kind of imbalanced life. But that's where you get these people from that they're incredible at it, whether it's a tennis pro or an artist or musician. It's an imbalanced life. It's not balanced. And I see we have a lot of artists and writers in our industry that have made that sacrifice, and they're that good. And because of that, they're not accessible, because they'd rather be working than, being in a city conventions hall trying to talk you into buying their $10 book. It's that's a different job. And that's not the job they signed on for. It's hard. You need, and you're right, you need a partner who will be the public person and be down to earth. And Robin has so many more contacts than me. She has so many more friends. And when they have any business question, everybody talks to Robin because she's the adult, and I'm just like I'm in kind of like in a spaced out. To them, they think I'm spaced out, but I feel like, well, you think I'm not paying attention.
Yeah.
But I've noticed the pattern on your shoes, and I noticed your shoelace is broken, and I noticed that your your socks don't match, and I noticed that your jeans are baggy in the back, and I can draw that tomorrow if I have to. And I noticed that I know the cologne you're wearing, and I noticed that you've been talking for 10 minutes and then have not once mentioned your wife and kids. See, so that's how I'm tuned in. I don't care about, the discount on the books and will you take 12, and if you take 12, I'll send you 15. And I don't care. I care about the people.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah,
Rob,
that's
making sure that the mortgage is paid, and the electricity didn't get turned off. Yeah.
Which clearly I'm not doing correctly. But you're right. I do need to go. It's been.
Yes, I try to keep these as an hour, but you guys are fascinating to talk to, and
Thank you.
I'm a chatterbox. I could talk all night. So, all right, Terry, anything you want to say before you go? I want to put up your links. We got Terry Moore. This is your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Yes. All the links are in the description too for anybody who catches this later. Here we got your I already put that up, your YouTube channel. Marcus is great. If Marcus can help me, where is
Thank you,
oh, there we go. This is what I was looking for. Abstract Studios. This is where you can pick up all of your back catalog. Strangers in Paradise, Echo, your superhero story. We got Serial, which I don't know, man. I think you went in a dark place with that story. That was Rachel Rising, which I was fascinated with. You went back in time, and I love fake history. Like that was my favorite part of Anne Rice is when they delved into the back, and that's what you did in Rachel. And here I am saying you could talk, and I'm babbling again. I apologize.
You're my best salesman. Thank you.
Oh, I try. Well, a rising tide floats all boats, and
yeah.
That's why for every Billy Tucci at the convention, we can have the lady selling her little crochet Superman.
Crochet that kicked my butt.
Oh, I just freaked out. I was like, "What the hell's in my beard?" I forgot I had the light on.
It's on fire.
Yeah, it looks like I'm on fire.
Santa's on fire.
And Tonic, all your stuff is Saving the World is your main comic. Here we go.
Yeah.
It's live right now in Indiegogo. I saw an ad for your comic in Alternate Comics, and I saw that wonderful illustrator Monk, and then I bought it. It's your art, and I'm like, but I fell in love with it anyway.
Hey, it ain't no secret that I lure people in with Monk, and then they go, "What the hell is this?" but generally, they're happy once they get into it.
Absolutely happy. And then I ordered all of your comics, and for some reason I forgot issue number 5. And Tonic is just a freak as me, and he snuck in an issue number 5 that I didn't know. And when I opened it up, I was like, all right, I'm a fan for this guy for life. That's all it took. That's all it took, So that customer service. Imagine that, being nice.
That's right.
Yep. I salute you. I thank you for your service. But thanks a lot, guys. Merry Christmas, and I'm sorry that I kept you here I could keep you here for another hour. So let me say thank you.
It was fun.
Guys in the chat, I want to say thank you, Matt Barrett, for showing up. I love Matt. Flying Fox, great. Marcus, my moderator, great job. Thank you, everybody. If I forgot your name, just assign it to stupidity, not to malice. That's Thanks a lot, everybody. Check out Tonicmole Saving the World. Check out Abstract Studios. You could get wonderful comics if you like well-written, interesting characters. Yeah, that you're gonna dislike it first, but you're gonna end up loving. Great writing, great art. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Yep. See ya.
Yeah.